And welcome back to part 2 of chapter 2 of Thracia 776. Yeah, like I said in the last part, these pirates do hit pretty hard despite their stats being not that great. They'll miss a bit, and they're not very fast, but it doesn't matter. If they hit you a couple times, you're going to die just the same. Ronan, wait. No, Mother. I've made up my mind. Oh, you must be the Fianna militia. Please, let me join you. I can use a bow. I promise I won't get in your way. But you've never been in battle. That doesn't matter. If we don't do something, we'll always have to live in fear of Leafus. I just can't take it anymore. And just like that, we have ourselves a new unit, Ronan, who is, like Tanya, another archer. Ronan is a very strange beast of an archer. I mean, he's bad, but he's bad in a very fascinating kind of way. On a surface level, he actually looks pretty great. A Ronin has 3 movement stars, which is the most you'll get for a long time. He has an extra point of movement compared to every other archer, and he has the continue skill just like Leaf. But none of that matters because of one absolutely crushing flaw. Ronin has a 15% strength growth, which I believe is the lowest in the game for an unpromoted unit. He's basically useless because of it, because he just won't be able to deal damage past the first few chapters he's in. What's really strange, though, is that Ronan has a 55% magic growth, which is nice on one point because a high magic does give you a high resistance. As I explained a while ago, magic and resistance are the same in this game, but Ronan isn't a magic user. He doesn't use tomes, so 1/2 of that is completely wasted. Because of this fact, a lot of people, including myself, like to joke that Ronan is having like an identity crisis or something. He doesn't quite know what he's supposed to be, that he should have been a magic user, but he took up archery for some reason, even though he has absolutely no talent in it. Wow, did you see that? Finn missed 3 times in a row with 72% accuracy, and that pirate hit him with 47. I swear, this happens way too often for it to just simply be a result of the 1RN system. There has to be some sort of rigging going on behind the scenes. I can't be the only one that thinks that. Anyway, to add to what I was talking about earlier with Ronan, he really is a shame that he's locked on being an archer. If Ronan were a magic user that you got at this point, he would probably be regarded as one of the most useful and, if not one of the best units in the entire game. He's got, if you considered the fact that he was a magic user, he would have really great growths, he'd have the continue skill, he'd have the movement stars, he'd have their extra point of movement. It's a damn shame that all this great stuff gets wasted on a unit that can't utilize it. And one thing, about that extra point of movement, there's actually an extra mechanic in Thracia 776 that I also didn't talk about. Movement actually has a growth rate in this game. That's right, if you are really lucky, your character will gain an extra point of movement when they level up. They don't show it to you on the stat screen, they tell you afterwards. And the movement growths are all less than 5%, and only one character in the whole game has a 5% movement growth rate. And, well, I'm going to be frank. While I'm doing the voiceover for this, I finished recording on the next chapter, and Havan actually gained a movement point when he leveled up. Unfortunately, I botched that recording because I was trying to capture a weapon from a guy I didn't intend to kill, because if I killed him I wouldn't be able to recruit him, and Dagda crit with a bow and killed him. So I had to restart the chapter. Boy, was I pissed about that. Yeah, I can be a little skitsy or something like that when I'm fiddling around in the item menu. I don't know why, it just sometimes my fingers slip and I have to scroll through a million different menus, and yeah, it can be kind of weird. Basically, I'm not quite used to playing on a keyboard. In case you're wondering, this is running on an emulator. Thracia 776 was never legally released in North America, hence the fact why I have to play this with a Japanese translation. And Nintendo, you gotta get off your ass and localize this, and Genealogy of the Holy War, and Heroes of Light and Shadow. You're just sitting on stuff that you're not gonna make any money from, and Awakening sold like hotcakes here. You guys should really do a SNES collection of Fire Emblem games. Get Manju no Nazo, Genealogy of the Holy War, and Thracia 776 for like the Wii U or something. Do an update. Hell, you don't even have to update it. Just put a translation in the game and re-release it. That stuff is going to sell like crazy. You guys know how good Awakening sold. You're just sitting on this and doing nothing with it. I guess the moral of the story here is girls don't like hatchets being thrown into their face. I guess she really doesn't like that. Oh, and one other thing I can point out in regards to this game and future Fire Emblem games, if you've played Fire Emblem 7, or which was just called Fire Emblem when it was released here because it was the first released, you may notice that your player attack theme in this game sounds familiar. It was actually remixed and used in Fire Emblem Blazing Sword as the arena theme, and this is actually a recurring thing in the Fire Emblem series. Sealed Sword used Genealogy of the Holy War's battle theme, Sacred Stones used Guidance, and Shadow Dragon used Path of Radiances. So, yeah, that's an interesting little tidbit. Oh, and Genealogy of the Holy War used the first game's battle theme. It's a really, neat little homage to the whole series. Oh, there's one other thing about Dagda I forgot to mention. He has a skill as well. It's called Charge, and it's a skill that was only in this game and Genealogy of the Holy War, and in both cases the skill kind of had the same effect, but it had a different result. In this game, Charge it's kind of well, it's mixed. Some people really don't like it. I'm kind of in between. What it does is when you're in a battle with an enemy, and your HP and your attack speed is higher than his, you'll perform an extra round of combat. And this isn't like continue in which you get to perform an extra attack. It starts the whole battle over again. Unfortunately, this also applies for ranged attacks in which you can't counter, and later in the game it also applies to ballistas and other long range weapons. Which basically means if a character has charge, they're in any amount of moderate speed, they're going to get double hit a lot by hand axes, javelins, ballista bolts. It gets really annoying, and it can end up killing a lot of units, which is a darn shame. Because the skill doesn't seem so bad in theory, but the fact that it applies to everything kind of makes it a double-edged sword. Meanwhile, in Genealogy of the Holy War, Charge didn't activate in the same way. It had a ridiculously complex equation involving HP, the opponent's HP, and your speed difference, and I don't remember it off the top of my head, but I can't remember many instances in which it happened, but it did the same thing. It would start another round of combat if the conditions were met. Unlike this game, it can trigger indefinitely, I believe up to a maximum of 20 times. I don't know if there are any instances in which you could actually have 20 consecutive rounds of combat, but I kind of want to see that happen just to see if it's possible. Anyway, this video is about to end, so I will see you guys in part 3 of chapter 2. And like I said, I finished recording on 2 Gaiden, so I will begin voiceover on that as soon as I am able. Damn, that's good level up.